think it's a Thursday?
Yep.
It's a Thursday. That's not too long. No.
So, Grandma, what did you like to do when you were a little girl?
What did I like to do?
Yes.
I don't think
Clean
that was.
house.
I didn't have a choice. I did what my mother told me.
And what did your mother tell you to do?
Go in and practice the piano. That was a must.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, the dust cloth was waiting, all the dusting, and then it was lunchtime, set the table and help fix it and get the kids in to eat.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
10. There were 10 in the family.
So
I had 7 brothers and 2 sisters. Yeah. So it was a big house full. But they weren't all home at the same time as I was growing up. You know, the older ones were
Who was the oldest?
Peter.
Peter.
He went into the Merchant Marine.
Yes. Well, he only went after high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He became a merchant
He
of
was a
the
merchant marine.
of the seas, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then Greg was an attorney, a judge.
And Greg was an attorney, and Joe was in college.
A professional playboy, right?
Right. That he had a label.
Joe went to Cornell and wore a raccoon coat
and a boater.
And never changed. He wore that the rest of his life. He never went the next step.
What did he do for a living? How did he? What did he do?
He was a charmer, right? He could charm anybody.
They all had jobs after work or after school or something.
But your father had...
In and out, in and out.
But your father had a business, and they all worked in the business.
And
what was the business, Grandma? What was the business your father had?
He had many businesses.
He had various ones. He was in the merchandising, and then he had...
candy store.
Yes, he had a restaurant, and he had... the Twin Oaks Rest, that was the name of it.
Where was the restaurant located?
In Jamaica.
Jamaica, Queens? What do you remember the streets?
The last one, wasn't it?
Metropolitan Avenue.
And what?
Jamaica Avenue.
So at the corner of Jamaica and Metropolitan Avenue?
And it was the Twin Oaks Rest. And then I had to go and help there too, to help.
But your mother did. That was the era when if you bought a beer, you got a free lunch, right?
I don't know what
your mother cooked the free lunch.
I guess,
she made the soups and the
and the
whole
dinner.
dinner.
Yes, yeah.
And didn't you say after she had a baby, 2 days later she had to go down?
Oh no, Marion, Marion was the baby, and I was 14 when Marion was born, and I was almost Marion's mother as far as
I know, but your mother
cooked
that
didn't.
lunch.
No, this was before.
Oh,
before they had that business.
Grandma, where in Queens did you grow up?
What?
Where did you grow up?
In Brooklyn, Bushwick Heights.
In Brooklyn and Woodhaven.
Do you remember the street?
Yes.
Do you remember the address?
Yes. 9613 91st Avenue, Woodhaven, New York. We didn't have zip codes at that time. And in Brooklyn it was 298 Central Avenue. And that was just Brooklyn.
Was it Bushwick?
It's right
near the park, wasn't it?
Huh?
Wasn't it
near Forest Park?
Forest Park.
Yes.
Right.
What's your best memory about growing up in that area?
Oh,
tell them about...
See, Bots was born, and he was the baby. And then I was old enough to do the running and...
But tell the story about your father took you to buy hats and a coach. You'd always told me that.
Where did you go?
You went to A&S or you went to a very nice store he would buy you fancy hats with velvet ribbons?
That was straw hats.
Well, he bought your hat, right? Okay.
Right.
But didn't he take you in the coach to buy the hat?
In the coach?
In a coach, you told me.
I don't remember that. What did I
With
tell
a
you?
horse?
A horse and carriage. We had that
That was
as
a
a
coach,
special,
right?
a special, not garage, but the equivalent.
Stable, stable.
Stable, and we went to the stable and the horses, and we had to feed us horses when we
But
went.
he took you out in the horse
Oh,
and the coach.
I met him Sunday after Mass, and we went to Prospect Park.
Yeah.
And he rented a canoe or a rowboat, and we circled the park. And that was a fun memory. And he would I would be waiting, because he always went to the later Mass, and I had to go with the kids in my class at 9 o'clock.
Grandma, how come you liked the sailing so much? How come you liked the boat ride so much?
Like what?
Why did you like the boat ride so much?
Well, it was something different. It wasn't a car that you sat in, and then my father, at the
Rode.
horse. And he was so proud to say,
Did he take his coat off and roll his white shirt sleeves up?
that was really a luxury thing to do. And nobody,
And how old were you?
in the growing years,
Yeah.
You lost count.
between 10 and 14,
Yeah.
Uh,
yeah.
What was in the area that you lived in? Was it primarily a German community?
No, it was Irish. The parish was Irish.
Oh, really?
St. Michael's in Brooklyn was German.
St. Michael's in Brooklyn, yes.
Didn't you go to that?
No, we went to St. Barbara's Church in the
Oh,
area.
Dad went to St. Michael's.
Grandma, when did your family come over to America?
My grandmother, and her sister. Well, my grandfather fell off the cherry tree in Germany and left my grandmother with 5 or 6 kids.
Oh, he died?
No, 7. He was killed.
Ah.
He fell and
How did he die?
He fell off the
fell,
cherry
I
tree.
guess,
He fell off a cherry tree?
a cherry tree.
What was he doing in the cherry tree?
Well, this was his property.
Oh.
They had lived in a home that had ground and a cherry tree. And that was the story we were told, that Grandpa fell off the cherry tree and he died. And so that left my grandmother, with 5 girls and 2 boys.
How old was the oldest?
The youngest, I think, was, she was like the big, we all looked up to her because she
That was Tante who?
because she was, I guess, born after
What was her name?
Francis.
Tante Frances.
Dr. Francis. And so they all came to this country, and the girls had to buckle down and work and do.
Grandma, what country was the cherry tree in?
the part,
What country was the cherry tree in?
where they lived in
Germany.
What part of Germany?
What
Freilich.
forest?
Huh?
The Watzwald.
No, Schwarzwald. No, Frelinghausen or Frelinghausen.
Yeah, there's a Frelinghausen.
I have it all written.
It's in the Bible, right?
Pardon?
It's in the Bible at home?
Yeah, in the Bible.
Yeah,
Gee, you read the Bible.
No, I'm going to.
Yes.
Grandma, how did they come over? Did they go first class, second class, steerage? They had no money?
Didn't have distinction. Then you just have a booking and you went on. And I think they had maybe 1 or 2 cabins and they all piled in. And
Where did they come into? New York? Into
yes,
Ellis Island?
Yes. Well, one of my uncle's, he came over first. And then he sent for his brother. And then these two got together and said, we're going to bring the family over. And they lived on First Avenue in New York, and that was really tenement. You know, they piled them in. I guess boatload after boatload were brought in. And, but those two boys took
Who
care
were
of
they?
everything.
Uncle
Uncle-
Pius?
Uncle Pius and Uncle Alois.
Okay.
Alois was the older brother and Pius was the second. And,
Where did they work when they first came over? What did they do
well,
to get the money to bring the others over?
well, I don't know just how they accumulate the money, but they worked hard and maybe they
Waiters?
saved.
Waiters in a restaurant?
No.
Probably more likely
no.
construction.
No,
That's,
they didn't speak English. They,
So, well, nobody speaks English. They have to start somewhere.
well,
What did they do?
I don't know. They went there. Alois was a salesman, and
But he didn't know English. How could he sell?
I don't know that, but that's what I was told. And Pius went right to school.
Oh.
And Edward was killed by a trolley car.
wow.
And
In New York?
in New York. And
Did he have a family?
no, he was a youngster or kid. And he,
Grandma, do you remember when that was that he was killed by a trolley car?
who?
Do you remember when that was when he was killed by a trolley car?
I did. I was
It was
told.
the turn of
Yeah.
the century.
I was told that he was, and so many of my cousins' name was Edward, and I asked, why, who was Edward? And they said, oh, that was Uncle Edward when he was a little boy. He was hit by a trolley. He ran in front
Did
of
they
the
sue?
trolley, and he was killed. But that was it. But the girls always stuck together and visited, and
What did they work at?
sewing machines or something.
The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory?
Yes. Well, I don't think that was, but the equivalent, wherever they could get a job.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they went in for any.
Did your mother work at all?
My mother worked, sure.
What did she do?
She's sewing. And
She helped her mother, though. When she was a little girl, didn't she have to open the ovens, bake the bread?
sure, they all pitched in it, and that was, you do it without being told, you know, it's part of your life. But they all worked hard, but Pierce, when he finished high school, he sent away for, what was the,
Correspondence course.
no, ICS.
Yeah, International Correspondence School. Yeah.
And he got an engineering degree from there, and ABC Elevator hired him, and he made big money, and then he was sent to China to
Build elevators.
build elevators.
Wow.
And he had to leave the family. I remember my cousins, especially Catherine's sons, when she used to cry, you know. The father was missing, and he was a good father.
But they didn't like him.
Huh?
Some people didn't like him.
Well, he was bossy,
Oh,
and he knew it was up to him to provide, and he let them know he was providing. And he was bossy, and some resented it.
yeah.
But he had 6 or 7
Of his own kids.
or 8 children. Yeah, he had 4 boys and 4 girls, and they all married. And,
So he learned to be an engineer on his own.
from ICS.
Yeah.
That's
My mother
awesome.
said that the mail came every, I guess, couple of days for
Sure.
a new assignment.
But then he had to work alone.
Yes,
Do his homework
he
alone.
was a very ambitious guy.
Must have been very smart.
He must have been to retain it and to use
Well,
it.
to figure it all out on his own.
Well, he was.
There was nobody he could ask.
No, and nobody to steer and try this or do this.
Yeah.
I don't know where he found this, but
So then your father was later in that family. Your father.
my father only had one brother and one sister.
And who were they?
Uncle Peter,
Oh,
who had the hotel in
up in
Honesdale,
Honesdale.
and the one sister went back to Germany.
Who was that?
I don't even
Tante?
remember. I think her name is Bertha. Bada.
Oh, Bada. That's right. I
And
remember Tante Bada.
When
Right.
Tante Bada come, he'd say, I guess we all get a bats now.
Tante Bada. But she went back to Germany?
I believe, or she died, one or the
Oh.
other, but I don't remember association
Yeah,
or that
yeah.
really, yeah.
Well,
But-
should we have some lunch?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh,
Grandma, what's your best memory of Manhattan? What was your most favorite time going into the big city?
The favorite time?
Yeah.
Well, when I was a young lady and going to the theater and meeting my friends in the city. And
What did you guys do?
well, now, what would you think we did?
I don't know.
Well,
I want you to tell me what you would do.
we talked and
Is that
had
a
fun
tack dog?
and laughed, and we
Is
laughed
that a tack dog?
at everybody,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we were carefree.
yeah.
She all
And
ready
that
for
was
the
the
day?
Yes, that was the day.
What about your father?
He loved to listen to me play the piano. And after dinner on Sunday, he would get his cigar and put his feet up and sit in the living room, and Edna played Poet and Peasant.
Poet and peasant?
Yes. That's a very classical edition. And when I played that, he would dream or whatever and smoke this cigar. So I got to the point where Poet and Peasant was never around. And I said, I can't find it. And he said, you can't find that music. You have to buy another one. I said, well, I'll look again. My little brother Buck, he wanted something from me and I didn't give it to him. So he went to